Today on 100 Yards of Football, Vincent Turner and 100 Yards of Football goes from the football field to the basketball courts, where today they go to one of the great ones of all time, a young man who came to the Memphis program beginning in the 1981-82 season and made an immediate impact. Ladies and gentlemen, a 6'11" center who scored 2,408 points, the most in any Memphis Tiger history. A young man who ranks among the best alongside Larry Finch and Penny Hardaway, the best multi-year players to ever wear a Tigers uniform. Vincent Turner takes it deep. One of the all-time greats in college basketball history. Keith Lee is on 100 Yards of Football here.
If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. Before I get started, I'd like to give this staff here at 100 Yards Football much love and much blessings, because I want everybody to understand this. I would not be where I'm at today with 100 Yards Football if it wasn't for Logan Landers, Jeremiah Long, Bobby Butler, the man with the great voice, Mr. Mark Bass, and of course, a gentleman that I love dearly from the heart. I consider my brother, Ronnie Keebler from Brooklyn, New York. So that being said, if you like the video today, please come in and share it. Everybody that knows me knows that I'm a big football guy, but I also have love for college basketball. And throughout my life, I was born July 17th, 1960. And when I was old enough to start liking this game of college football, pro football, and college basketball, it's only been one team in the college basketball sector that I love, that I follow, that I'm going to take dear to my heart. It's the University of Memphis / Memphis State Tigers. And when I think about this gentleman today, Keith Lee, I think about a time that I was a young man. I was attending the University of Arkansas, going into my senior year. And I remember this young man, Keith Lee. He was the best player in the state at that time in Arkansas, from West Memphis, Arkansas, which is right across the bridge from Memphis, about 20 minutes away. And I was thinking about Arkansas at that time had a very heavy basketball program. They had just came off the NCAAs that year, had lost U.S. Reed, one of the greatest players in the program history. But one thing about Arkansas, and it was coached by the great Eddie Sutton, is that they got every top player in the state of Arkansas. But that year, going from my senior year, that was a heavy recruiting battle. 3 schools, Arkansas, Arkansas State, and Memphis State at the time. And to be honest, Arkansas really thought that Keith Lee was going to be committed, because that's what you're supposed to do. At the time, the Razorback roster had Ricky Norton, that was out of the state of Arkansas. They had Keith Peterson, that was out of Little Rock. They were going to be stacked next year. They had got a guard that was coming out of JUCO by the name of Alvin Robertson. Remember him? Went to the NBA. Then they had another guard that went to the NBA, and Darryl Walker. So it was a given that Keith Lee was going to commit to Arkansas. But the young man at that time was very quiet. But you had that gangster. You had that guy from West Virginia. Same place where Nick Saban from. Dana Kirk had some up his sleeve. And the thing about Keith Lee, he had played on 2 highly great high school basketball teams. His last 2 years, his junior, senior years, he went 60-0. As a junior, West Memphis won the state in the largest classification. Some people say that team right there could play with any team in the history of high school basketball. They had Michael Cage, who ended up going to San Diego State playing in the NBA. They had Aaron Price that came with Keith Lee over to Memphis State. Then coming back the next year, they went 30-0 because Keith Lee carried West Memphis. But I remember, after I finished my semester in May, Keith Lee, coming home in 1981, had committed to Memphis State. And I said, wow. But I didn't think he was going to be that much bigger impact, because at the time, there was a lot of negative press coming out of Arkansas. Oh, he couldn't fit the Arkansas system. He doesn't have enough weight on him. He's a very quiet individual. And even me, I didn't know what he was going to do with Memphis State at the time because Memphis State was coming off 2 back-to-back 13 and 14 seasons. But Dana Kirk, the head coach at the time, said, hey, I remember his words when they signed Keith Lee. He said that this young man could change the history and the face of this basketball program. What we got to do, we got to be patient. We're going into the opening games of the 81 season, true freshman Keith Lee. People don't realize this. Memphis State lost their first 2 games on the road. They lost to East Tennessee State by 5, and they lost to Mississippi State by 1 point. But make no bones, Dana Kirk said, that's all right. We're going to regroup. But people didn't know after those 2 games what Keith Lee was going to be. And what happened was explosion. Central Barbecue, Payne's Barbecue, the Rendezvous, Beale Street, Mid-South Coliseum, Jerry Lawyer, wrestling. It was an explosion. And I was up there my senior year at the University of Arkansas. I was looking back. I was talking that noise to all my friends on campus because Memphis State reeled off like 13 wins in a row. And all of a sudden, Keith Lee started to become that national face. Because everybody was talking about from a freshman standpoint, they was looking at Georgetown with Patrick Ewing. They was looking at Oklahoma with Wayman Tisdale. They was looking at North Carolina with Michael Jordan. But all of a sudden, the eyes was on that city where I'm from, the 901, Memphis, Tennessee. And the thing that made it so special, Keith Lee started having big games that year. His freshman year, they beat Louisville twice. And I remember in the Metro tournament, March the 6th, 1982, he went for 24 points. 27 points, I believe, 13 rebounds on national television, and beat that Louisville team 73-62. And that Louisville team still had Rodney McCray. They still had my man Derek Smith. They still had players that was very, very evident to that Louisville program. As a matter of fact, Louisville made the Final Four that year. But Keith Lee, that day, came as a national player. Then he was voted Metro Conference Player of the Year as a true freshman. And the thing I thought about, Tiger basketball is back. The days of Larry Finch, Ronnie Robertson, Larry Keenan, St. Louis, Bill Walton. And I was getting ready to graduate. It was a great time for this young man from Memphis, Tennessee, on the hill at Arkansas. Then I thought about this. What made Keith Lee so special to carry on through his career? His skill set. He had the hands. He was a guy at 16 that could really pass the ball. That he knew where to place the ball within the lanes. And he had a burning desire to win. And he didn't do no talking. And he had something that a lot of people at that time didn't have. A 6'10" guy that had a superb, listen to these key words, a superb outside shooting touch. Like Kevin Durant. And boy, that was people on the hill at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville was telling me, picking them as an outside favorite to get to the Final Four that year. I remember the Tigers going into that tournament, they upset Wake Forest and Charlotte. Then they went to North Carolina State and got beat by Villanova. But I said, you know what? Tiger basketball is back. Then going into Keith Lee's sophomore year, I think about that game he had against Georgetown and Patrick Ewing in Louisville. 28 points, 17 rebounds against Patrick Ewing. Then into his junior year, going back in the tournament. His sophomore year, they got beat by Houston in that great team, 5-slammer jam. This for you, Mark Bass. Clyde the Glide Drexler had that Mavis dunk over Andre Turner. That was a hell of a Houston club. Then going into Keith Lee's junior year, he kind of struggled out of the gates. He had 2 games. He went back-to-back, scored 4 points. But the Tigers got it together. There was people on the national level, even in the Memphis media, that was challenging him, maybe saying what was wrong with Keith Lee. But the Tigers regrouped, and I remember this. In his junior year, the Tigers hosted the first rounds of the NCAA tournament. And Memphis State went through Oral Roberts, and they went through a Purdue team coached by Gene Katie. They had a guard named Steve Reed, but Keith Lee had 30 points, and Gene Katie said, he's an aircraft carrier. Atomic bomb, August 6, 1945. Dropped on Japan, Keith Lee. Then they had to face them Houston Cougars again without Clyde Drexler, but Akeem Olajuwon was too tough on them down in St. Louis. Then, going into his senior year, the city already rocking. The city already saying this team coming up could be a Final Four team. But the greatest thing is a Memphis State Tiger fan and a guy that loves and respects this program, that go to war with anybody putting them on the level of UCLA, Michigan State, Duke, a program down south, in a time that really people don't respect on the national level, still saying they're underachievers as far as a college basketball program. But they're not saying that today, though, because Penny Hardaway is on the program. I really thought Keith Lee was going to turn pro. I really did. In the city of Memphis, thought. But I remember when he announced that he's coming back for his senior year. And Dana Kirk had tears in his eyes. And all the people in Memphis, Tennessee had tears in his eyes. Because really, Keith Lee didn't own the city of Memphis, nothing. He was from West Memphis, a country boy. But he said, hey, I want to come back my senior year. And I want to finish what I started. I want to make it to the Final Four. He came back his senior year. Tigers went 31-4, made it to the Final Four. Beat Oklahoma in the Midwest Regional Finals. They had that Oklahoma team with Raymond Tisdale, Derek Kennedy, Anthony Bowie. And I remember when that team won it, that Midwest Championship game, coming back that day, and they came back in Memphis that night, and there was a club called the No Name. Everybody knew what I'm talking about. Place Disco in Beale Street. I remember this station, 97.1 FM in Memphis, had a live feed of some of the Tiger players on Beale Street. And I remember Keith Lee saying, and he don't speak much, I'm glad I finished the journey. And now it's to take care of business. Things didn't work out too well. The Tigers got upset by Villanova in the Final Four, first game by Villanova. But what Keith Lee did for the Memphis State basketball program, and I've been going back over the history of the program, and I think about all the great times. There's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of downs. Coach Finch put the Tigers on the map, kind of did a little flavor out there. Penny Hardaway has brought tremendous prominence. That's why the Tigers are talked about now from a college basketball perspective. Much love to John Calipari and Derrick Rose. Thank you. But to be honest, to be real about it, this gentleman right here is the reason that Memphis State gets the love and respect. He's the one that in his 4 years there put the Tigers in a basketball atmosphere with all the greats. When he played at Memphis State, they went 104-24. Boy. 4-time AP All-American first team with the likes of Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan, Raymond Tisdale. 4 straight NCAA appearances. And like Mr. Mark Bass said, still to this day, the career leading scoring leader with 2,400 points. And also the all-time leading school leader in rebounds, 1,306, I believe. Phenomenal person. Outstanding individual. And a guy that really shows you what it is about a true Memphian, even though he's from West Memphis. See, as I tell people all the time, there's something called loyalty. It's something that's breezed down the South. And when I look at Keith Lee and his time at Memphis State University, It makes me the person I am, and that's why I'm so proud of that city. Granted, it has its problems of the day like any other city, but one thing about it, when you play basketball there, as an athlete, it's never going to leave from you because you become loved in that city. You can go anywhere in that city and it's still love. Keith Lee now coaches high school basketball in the city of Memphis. Still a quiet guy. Got his farm and ranch up there in West Memphis. I heard he likes horses. But he's still loved to this day. True story, when I graduated from the University of Arkansas and came home that summer, they used to have a summer league at Sherwood Junior High, the junior high I attended, middle school. And they had the summer league there. And Keith Lee was going into his sophomore year. Now, Sherwood Junior High, that gym seats about maybe at the max 1,300. Throughout that summer, that gym had close to 2,700 capacity. It was people waiting to get in. All around the court, they was there to see Keith Lee. See, everybody, I know we talk about Magic Johnson with the Lakers. We talk about Steph Curry with Golden State. And we talk about Kevin Durant. LeBron James, when they walk into certain cities, they must see autographs. But I guarantee you, Keith Lee can go down Beale Street. Not a guy that talks a lot. And he'll at least have 4,000 people around him. Because that's what he meant to the city. That's what he meant to the program. That's why I can talk a little bit. That's why I can brag a little bit. I'm proud. When I look at that picture, I think about Whitehaven. I think about Frazier. I think about Orange Mound, 8-Ball, and MG. South Memphis. The 901. It's because of Keith Lee, baby, and what he did from 1981 to 1985. Thank you, man. You've been the greatest player in Tiger basketball history. It's no question about it. Granted, he didn't have a great NBA career because of his knees. He only played, I believe, 4 seasons. But think about this. In the city of Memphis, him not having a great NBA career, he's still talked about among the masses that know the history of high school basketball in Memphis and college basketball. When you mention the likes of high school basketball, Bingo Smith, Penny Hardaway, Billy Smith, Anthony Douglas, Steve Mitchell, Johnny Newman, John Winform. Then when you go over on the college side, you talk about Larry Finch, Ronnie Robertson, Fred Horton, Derrick Rose, Joey Dorsey, even Jalen Duren, Penny Hardaway. But all those names I say, I still list Keith Lee as the best college player that ever stepped on the foot in the Mid-South Coliseum. And the great Fred Cook, the announcer, announcing his name, Keith Lee, out of West Memphis High School. Outstanding basketball player, outstanding individual, outstanding character. And living his life quietly. That's all I have to say. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. Special thanks to my producer, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen. All I can say is this. When I think about Keith Lee and the times from 1981 to 1985, you know I got to do it, Tiger fans. You know I got to do it for Orange Mound. You know I got to do it for Whitehaven. Dun, 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 dun. Go Tigers, go! Go Tigers, go! Keith Lee, David Porter, Isaac Hayes, Stax Records. Y'all be blessed.